I was born in Toronto and lived there until I was 8. I was homeschooled because my parents believed that the unspoken purpose of the school system was to identify and then separate the sheep from the goats. When I was a kid, Toronto was big, although not as big as it is now. My Toronto was on a small and well-worn path from which we seldom strayed. Our regular stops were the Royal Ontario Museum, the Art Gallery of Ontario, the library, and on Thursdays, a bakery on St. Clair. Sometimes, in the summer, we went further afield to Toronto Island, where we walked through the hedge maze and visited the petting zoo. I liked the goats. When we weren't walking around Toronto, I spent a lot of time alone in my room reading. In the Tantam book, Destination Moon, Captain Haddock accuses Professor Cuthbert Calculus of acting the goat because of Calculus's plan to take a rocket to the moon. At one point, Calculus falls down a manhole, hits his head, loses his memory, and sits unspeaking in a chair. Haddock goes through an absurd routine of dressing in costume to shock Calculus out of his trance. But it's only when Haddock gets frustrated and says, "I suppose you think I'm enjoying myself acting the goat," that Calculus snaps out of his state and yells, "A goat? Me?" No one wants to be the goat. As an adult, I learned that the word tragedy comes from the Greek roots tragos, meaning goat, and oid, which means ode or song. In ancient Greek theater, goats were sacrificed to Dionysus at the end of performances. The sacrificial goat would presumably sing a tragic ode. The sacrifice of goats, although tragic, was a step up from what the Menaids did in tributes to Dionysus. Fueled by Amanita muscaria, washed down with ivy wine. They would shred with their hands and teeth those who happened upon their path, children, adults, animals. It was the Menaids who ended Orpheus's song, and many a goat song, too. Tragedy, Goatsong. When I was 9, my family moved to a farmhouse 7 miles from a small village in eastern Ontario. We lived on a dirt road that ended in a beach. We had 92 acres of land that included fields and woodland and dramatic slices of the Canadian Shield. My sister and I went to school. We rode on a school bus every morning and afternoon for 1 hour and 15 minutes each way. On the way home from our first day of school, in the seat across from us, a boy sat crying. Taunts from other children became loud. "Joe, my mom told me that your mom slit her wrists. Did she slit her wrists because you fuck goats? You fuck goats, Joe, and your mom thinks you're such a loser that she slit her wrists." Joe cried quietly. My sister and I shrunk into our seats, smaller, smaller. As Joe left the bus to walk down the long dirt lane to his home, the chant of "goat fucker" grew louder and louder and was hurled out the school bus windows. He never came back to school. The girl in the seat behind us leaned over and assured us it was true. Joe really did fuck goats, and his house was filled with goats. I wondered what his house looked like inside. Was it really filled with goats? Were there goats on the couch, on the stairs? And was his mother in the bathtub bleeding and bleeding and bleeding from the wrists while the goats climbed on the furniture? Many years ago, a man I knew told me a story. His friend had been at a party with a guy she was dating. They both got high, and when she turned to look at her date, he did something foolish, something slight, and suddenly he looked like a goat to her. She could never unsee him as a goat, and so a few days later, she broke up with him. It's the worst, isn't it? When people become goats and you wish you could see them otherwise? Your lover who tells you to lose weight, goat. The colleague who tells a racist joke, goat. Slow walkers, loud chewers, humble braggers, goats, 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 goats. Suddenly, you find yourself the lone human trapped in a trip of goats. So you start to wonder, if everyone is a goat but you...